Hello, Gore Horrors and fellow Deadites. I am Brendan, and welcome to our Life in Horror. Today, we are going to be having a discussion about John Carpenter's In the Mouth of Madness with a returning guest on here. We have Ian. Hello.
Hello.
How are you today?
Oh, I'm good and jet lagged. How about you?
I'm good. A little tired. I've been running through movies pretty steady over the last few days, so uh, it's just been one after the other after the other. Almost. You said you just got back from America?
Yeah, I went to see my brother and his family for a couple of weeks. Got back a few days ago, and I still haven't caught up with the jet lag yet. So I'm back to work tomorrow, which is fantastic. But yeah. So that was fun. I got to experience American cinemas, which are interesting. They're definitely interesting, but it's nice to be back in England. So
What makes them interesting, just out of curiosity?
I think it's just the size of them. Like we have big ones here in England, but it's just I went to random AMC and they had like a 299 screen cinema screen for every one they had, and it was like in England, some of them are only like 50 seats. So that's and for the fact that there's only three of us in the cinema, it was like this seems like a waste of resources for three people to attend at one in the afternoon. So it's very strange, but very cool. Like they're very comfortable and big, so that's good.
Yeah. Do you have like the big recliner seats and stuff at the AMC you went to?
Uh, we went to two AMCs. Went to the dining one, which was very comfortable. But one we went to for the Deadpool versus Wolverine more. No, it wasn't reclining really. It was just sort of standard seats. But it was comfortable. So
What are the cinemas like in England?
um, less big. Some of them are comfortable. Some of them are very uncomfortable. But usually they're of a reasonable standard. They're not that big because not many. It doesn't seem like many of us actually go to the cinema nowadays. They just make them as small as possible.
Awesome. Do you want to tell people where they can find you?
Yeah, sure. So I accidentally resubscribed to WordPress for another year. So if people want to find my website, it's www.bubabatchan.com on WordPress. My YouTube channel, Ian Makes Themes, is still around somewhere. And I've got another one for the movies I make, which is the Bubba Batchan channel. But yeah, that's about it. They're still plodding along as they usually do. Not much content on there because I'm very, very lazy. But hopefully someday I'll be able to put some more stuff up on there.
Awesome. I'm gonna hit the comments real quick so
Cool.
Sam doesn't hate me with some comments here. We got Ryan Swayze. What is going on, Ryan? I already see you're talking to Sam, which is perfect. She's got some questions to ask you. We also got Rob. What's going on? Let's see. We will skip over some of Sam's messages, but Rob is watching football, was curious to see what Sam had to say about this movie, and she's not on the stream. Sam is not on the stream. No. And we also lost
Hello.
Bo as well. Bo is sick, and Sam didn't have much interest in reviewing this movie, so she is not reviewing this movie.
Shocking.
She just knew it wouldn't be her cup of tea. We got Sam there saying hello to you, Ian.
Hello.
Let's see, Rob's already thrown out the chirps. Is that because it's a good movie, Sam? Of course. Yeah, wouldn't be live without you throwing out some chirps here, Rob. So let's get into The Mouth of Madness. It was released in 1994. This is directed by John Carpenter. The synopsis goes: an insurance investigator begins discovering that the impact a horror writer's books have on his fans is more than inspirational. And let me see, this movie has a 7.1 out of 10 on IMDb, a 59% on Rotten Tomatoes, and we'll go with Letterboxd here too. It has a 3.8 out of 5 on Letterboxd. This is starring Sam Neill. Who else do we got here? Sam Neill, Gergen. I'm not gonna be able to say his name. Prochnow. He's good in it. Julie Carmen, and David Warner. We also got Charleston Heston in this as well as a small part. I think I covered the bases there. So let's get it. Why did you decide to pick In the Mouth of Madness?
Well, I thought after last time's Late Night with the Devil, I thought this was a similar movie in terms of blending reality and fiction and also dealing with like the Adric abomination side of horror. But mainly I just want to talk about it because I love this movie. It's very strange. It's a slight departure from the sort of stuff John Carpenter was making at the time, where it's almost a hybrid between Big Trouble in Little China and something like Prince of Darkness, where it takes the sort of horrifying aspect but puts a lot of comedy in it too. And generally, I just love talking about John Carpenter movies, and I thought this is one which has been discussed, but not quite to the level of some of the other ones he's made. So I thought, hey, if I get a chance to come back on, I'm going to talk about something weird. So I am talking about something weird.
Awesome. So this is my second time watching this. I think I watched this back in early summertime. I think it was June. I watched this for the first time, and I did put out a little review on my channel, but I kind of saved a lot I wanted to discuss because I knew eventually we would do a live for this and do a deeper little discussion on it. So I am excited to talk about this as well because I think it's an interesting movie. I just got done rewatching it just earlier today. So I'm excited. So we will get into some spoiler-free thoughts. Do you? Let's hear what you got, Ryan. Ian, sorry.
That's all right. Yeah, no, I just think it's great. I think it's a movie which does a really good job of creating a sense of a living nightmare, and it's very metatextual at the same point. So it's trying to deal with the material on a more, I suppose, subtextual postmodern basis. Instead of something like The Thing, which is great, but is a bit more surface level, where there is that level of paranoia, and there is readings into the thing of who's who and what's what. But this movie in particular, it just gives me so many theories on what it could mean, what it doesn't mean, what it might mean, and just fact that when I first saw it, which was actually only a couple of years ago, I just finished it and I was like, okay, I need to actually give this some thought because this seems quite a bit more complex than I was expecting. And yeah, so generally, no, I just think it's great. And it's an example of Carpenter being able to do another horror movie in a different way to all of his other ones, which is fascinating to me.
Yeah, I believe this is the only Lovecraftian type movie that he's done. You do get other movies that have like some kind of ideas, but I do enjoy that it is like straight from H.P. Lovecraft's works. The movie looks great. It sounds really good. I do enjoy the soundtrack quite a bit, and like you said, this movie's funny. There's a lot of good lines in this movie.
Yeah.
There's scenarios where I was like, this is actually pretty funny. I don't know if I quite enjoyed it my second time a watch. Like I said, I literally watched 5 hours worth of movies yesterday, so I'm feeling a little bit of burnout. Yeah, I watched, for some reason, I had a craving to watch Avengers Infinity War, and then we went straight from that to The Substance last night we saw.
Wow, that's a double bill of movies and a half. Jesus Christ.
I know. I don't know why I decided to do it to myself, but I was just in the mood to watch Avengers. So yeah, I'm a little bit off today. But yes, I do enjoy this movie. I think this is one of John Carpenter's like hidden gems. I've never actually went through his whole filmography, so I've never seen Little Trouble in Big Chinatown or
So
It's
good.
I know I've never seen Escape from LA or Escape from New York. Those are movies eventually I will have to get to, but I mainly just I feel like those aren't quite the horror titles, you know?
No, no.
Yeah.
But it's also good because you've left two of his better movies. You're leaving that first experience of them for the right moment, which is great because I think I marathoned most of his movies in like a 2 year period, and now there's nothing left. So it's kind of like I'll never get that sense of the first time I watched one of his movies ever again, which is slightly disappointing. But no, you're in for a treat for those two there. They're very, very John Carpenter, if that makes sense to anyone there.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to check it out very, very soon. I'm gonna hit up the comments here real quick. Let's see. Kind of losing my spot. There's a lot of discussion going on. We will say, Ryan, thank you so much because I always forget to say hit that like button, subscribe, go over to Ian's stuff and give him a subscribe and a like.
Oh,
We got
please,
Dark
please.
we got Dark Room Reviews here for the support. Thank you so much.
Sure.
Bitter Wolf is in the chat. I'm so
Wow.
excited to see John Carpenter at Joe Bob's
Oh,
Bangerie
nice.
next week. It's very
Wow.
cool. There we go. We got Ryan. We got Rob also defending
Yeah,
Big Trouble in Little China isn't a horror, but it's absolutely perfect. I'm gonna have to
it
check
is.
these movies out.
It is.
Let's see. Dark Room Reviews says they saw In the Mouth of Madness last year and was mesmerized with the story. I was in the same boat the first time I watched it. So guys, we're going to be getting into our spoiler discussion. If you guys have not seen this movie, which would be shocking, absolutely go watch that. Come back, check out the rest of the review. So Ian, describe this word in movie in 3 words.
So I actually have two alternate ones for this. The first one is a metatextual literary nightmare, and the second one is it's a few more words, but Stephen King's favorite movie, because basically it is a movie about Stephen King more than anything. So not a very complimentary one, but it definitely feels like John Carpenter's taking some shots at Stephen King and style of horror that he writes. Whether warranted or not, but it is quite amusing as the movie goes on how much more apparent that becomes.
Absolutely. Let me see. I got thought-provoking horror for my 3 words. I think
It's
this
good.
movie is very thought-provoking. It makes you question a lot of things of what's going on, what you believe is going on, what could be. It's a very interesting story, and you got to try to unravel it as the film goes on. So who's your favorite character?
So I actually, for favorite and least favorite, I have the same character, which is John Trent. I think he's fascinating in how he's very, very, very unlikable, being surly, aggressive, and generally unseemly in his role as the insurance investigator. But flip side of that, the con man stuff makes for a better entry into the movie, and him questioning everything and then slowly forming into madness is sort of the driving half the movie. So it's like I don't like his character, but I find it the most interesting to watch on screen. So it's a nice contradiction there.
Okay, awesome. I love John Trent. I think he's a great character. I love how he has to question everything. There has to be a logical explanation for everything, and by the end of the movie, he's just completely mad. And you get to see the inklings and foreshadowing of him going mad eventually as well. I like the little bit where he has ink on his fingers and he rubs his eyes, and then he kind of looks like he does at the beginning of the movie. So it's like, oh yeah, you're
Yeah.
definitely going fucking crazy at some point here. So you already said your least favorite character. So my least favorite character is Styles.
I can see that.
Yeah, like I don't know. I'm not going to say she's useless or anything. I guess she does serve a purpose, but I just don't. I don't find her that entertaining to watch, I guess. I do like how they work around her character and having her in this movie and then end up written out of this movie by the author of the book. So she's like just completely forgot about, and nobody knows if she's even real or even exists by the end of the film. So I was like, yes, thank God. But I do like a lot of her scenes because I think she has some interesting we'll call them transformations throughout this movie. But ultimately I just don't enjoy her part.
That makes sense. But I think it goes back to what you're saying. Part of the brilliance is that it seems like the movie is intentionally aware of that and writing the character in such a way that it doesn't fit the movie, and then course correcting halfway through, but using the author of the story in movie justify doing it. It's just such a weird device where it seems like they're going out of their way to make her as unlikable and, as you said, useless as humanly possible, and then going at a certain point, now you're done. It's just such a great, weird story device to use. So
yeah, like I get it, but it's just not for me. Like when she's in the vehicle with him and she's like, I just want to kiss you right now. I don't, and she's like, why? It's because I'm being written this way. I'm like, I get it. You're here to be the love interest essentially, but it's just not working for me. They never really had that kind of good chemistry that they try to set out to have.
It's just there's no real chemistry whatsoever.
No, and they really tried to set it up with the car ride there and the throwing of the peanuts or the chips or whatever, and it's like this falls flat pretty hard. Who are you giving it to best actor?
So I'm actually tight because I think Sam Neill and I'll try and get his name right, Jürgen Prochnow are both fantastic in it. But I have to give Jörg to Jürgen Prochnow because I think Sam Neill does a really good job, but his part is a bit easier to play, whereas the Jürgen's got to basically play an author who may or may not be the actual Sutter Kane. So he's got to play that. Then he's got to play the sort of god in the little universe. And he's got to do all of this while not playing it too over the top. And he does such a good job of playing it that he sort of, I always feel in a way, he sort of anchors the movie by playing it as low key as possible. So you're never quite sure what exactly is going on with him. But I think Sam Neill's fantastic too. And I also think Charlton Heston in his little Littler role is very, very good too. So, but yeah, I would definitely go for Jürgen Prochnow, in my opinion. He's terrific in this.
Yeah, I agree with that answer. I think he definitely can chew the scenery up a couple times if he wants to in this, and he never quite 110% goes there, but he gets pretty close. I put Sam Neill down. I think he's got the most sort of range for everything that goes on. He starts out as this cocky investigator, essentially, and then you see him slowly descend into madness. The only issue I have with Sam Neill, I don't think it's totally perfect. There are a few scenes here and there where I do notice his accent dips in. And I'm like, am I going crazy? Or is he like, his accent's like popping out here or there? But I don't know. That they must have been on like some kind of time restraint or something here, because I feel like that would be something that you would be like, okay, we're gonna edit this out or ADR it differently.
But I think that's almost a running theme because he does the same thing in Event Horizon at a few points. So maybe it's just he gets so into making horror movies that he forgets to keep a consistent accent. But because I know there's definitely a few times in Event Horizon where it's very, very noticeable that he's just stopped trying to do his character's accent and thought, I'm just going to run with this and let's hope for the best.
Okay, I never noticed it in Event Horizon, although I wasn't paying that hard attention to it. I'm gonna have to go back and watch some of his horror movies because he does in Jurassic Park, and I've seen that movie a million times, and I don't remember it ever cracking once.
Oh, not in that one, no.
Yeah, and then he did The Omen Part 3 as well, and I don't remember it. I have only seen that, I think, twice, so I don't remember that at all. So what did you think of the score and soundtrack?
I loved it. I thought it was it was a nice change of pace because normally John Carpenter does a lot of the synth music, and this one, it seemed like he was trying to do a version of a Metallica song, and it was a bit different from his usual stuff. But yeah, no, I think all of his movies, at least the score is going to be good. Even if it's reflective of some of his other ones, it's still going to be a good score. It's going to feel unique and different. But I can't say anything particularly stood out. It was just a nice, consistent score. But yeah, no, I can't think of any particular moments where it's like that's the best work he's ever done. It just fit the movie, I think. So
Yeah, I totally agree. Like for the actual like movie itself, the score isn't that incredibly noticeable to me, but that opening scene with the paper presser and you get the books being made, that is probably the coolest how it's made ever. Ever seen? You ever? I don't know if this was around when you were kids, but like there used to be this little 15-minute channel on when I was a kid that would go through factories and show you like how pencils were made or like hot dogs or whatever. And I got that total vibe here at the beginning of this movie where now they're like printing the covers of the books, and I'm like, that's fucking sweet. It's like the most Metallica song ever without actually
yeah,
being Metallica. The only other song I have on here was like the elevator version of like It's Only Just, I think the song is called It's Only Just Begun.
oh yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, and then all the crazy inmates start singing the song, and I love that.
That was actually it's good. I can't believe I forgot that one, but that
What do you think of the cinematography?
I loved it. I mean, I think for me the part that really stands out is the scene where everything turns blue, and it's just such a great weird little sequence, and it just the way it's shot, the way it's just generally lit, it's not only an effective sequence, it just looks cool. And it's like first time I saw a movie, and when that happened, I did have to stop and do a double take and wonder, has my DVD or Blu-ray broken down? But then when I realized that's what they're going for, I was like, oh, that's so cool. And such a nice way to sort of almost show off, I guess, but also fit the material. Other than that, I thought the use of shadows was quite cool. I thought the bit where he's running down the tunnel and you get the brief shots of all the rubber costume monsters. I thought he did a good job of lighting that so they weren't too crap looking. Um, and I thought the asylum stuff was very. Oh, and the when he's going down that street every once in a while, and it's just lit and it looks terrifying. Like it's just the most awful alleyway you've ever seen in a movie. I've seen some of those in real life, and they are terrible. So it was quite weird watching one of those. But yeah, that blue scene is for me the highlight, one of the best things he's ever done, to be honest. I mean, just so weird, so cool, very blue. So thumbs up.
Yeah. I like that you brought up the alleyway. That was definitely the alleyway that Bruce Wayne's parents were shot and killed at.
Jesus, probably was actually.
Yeah, I think this movie is really great looking. I think what do I have here? I have some scenes I wrote down. The state of the room after the state of his asylum room, his padded room when he's covered it all in black crayon. I thought that looked fantastic. The church, I love the church. I don't know why, but I am
cool.
so drawn to how beautiful and stunning this church looks. And even the rest of the town, it reminds me of like Stephen King's famous town of Derry. You know, it just reminds me that small town feel. What else? I also have Crane's room, where he is in the belly of the church, and it's like it almost looks like water painting all around his room. It looks so surreal.
Definitely, yeah, that's great.
Yeah. I like this shot a lot, which is the shot of Styles. This is why I'm like, Styles gets some brownie points, but I don't really like it. This isn't even her doing. This is John Carpenter's when she's hiding
Yeah.
behind the pane glass door, and you just see some kind of tentacle shadows fly up, and then the tentacles retracting from underneath the door back to her, and then she opens it up and she's fine. But you're like, no, don't fuck with that girl. Like, just get out of there, Sam Neill. Take the keys and fucking leave. But I really enjoyed those shots. And you already brought up the blue on the bus. You have Crane's character being like, my favorite color has always been blue. So just when you wake up, don't forget to check out the scenery. And then he wakes up and everything has just got this blue tint to it. This is usually Sam's question or category. Do you have any favorite outfits?
I mean, the one that stood out to me was the that weird when the kid turns into the old man on the road and he's cycling down it. That character always stands out to me because it looks ridiculous, like the hair and the mustache and the clothes, but it just stands out even more because it seems like something someone would write in a hack horror book, like, oh, this old man with long flowing white hair and a mustache, and it just looks so stupid. And when he falls off his bike, they try to show him as little as possible. It's lit very darkly because they know if you saw it in close up, you'd just start laughing. So that always stands out to me as being a very strange choice. But I do think the sort of clothes that Jurgen Sutter Kane wears, they're so subtle, but there's something slightly off about them too. So I'd probably say those two, but nothing has really stood out particularly. It's a bit like music, also flowed with the movie rather than being like, oh, that's a cool costume. It just, especially Sam Neill, he's just wearing very regular clothes, so it's hard to go with him in styles. Oh, they look smart in that. It's just like they're just dressed for work. It just seems like most of the time. So.
Yeah, like Sam Neill is always wearing a dress shirt and some kind of a 6-button overcoat. And I remember in the one scene, I noticed he was wearing jeans underneath of it all. And I was like, it's a little odd, but I guess you just came from Hobbs End. So I'm like, okay, you might not get to choose what you're wearing right now, but okay, that's fine. That's all I had for clothes. I didn't really notice too many either. There's the scene of, I can't remember what the actress's name is, but Happy Gilmore's mom.
Yeah.
Is how I'm going to refer to her. There's the scene where she turns into Frances Bay is her real name. When she turns into the giant creature that's essentially killing her husband. I think that the outfit's good, and that just the practical effects of that scene is just absolutely terrifying. So do you have any memorable lines?
Yeah, no, I mean, I have, there's a lot, but once I'm going to go to are firstly, you briefly alluded to it earlier when they're all singing along to Carpenters, and John Trent just goes, "Oh no, not the Carpenters." that cracked me up. But my favorite one is in the whole movie is definitely Sutter Kane's. Did I ever tell you my favorite color was blue? Just because it's delivered in this most wistful, nostalgic way, and then cuts to one of the most terrifying scenes of the movie. So it's like, even if you didn't pick up on that line, you would after you saw that scene. So those are definitely my favorite ones. Although I find Sam Neill's increasingly angry reaction to everything that's going on is very amusing too. So, but I can't narrow down any particular line he says. It just cracks me up when he gets upset in these horror movies.
I got a couple here. I don't have too many either, but I have. I think this is just a classic line from the movie, which is a lot of people say it, which is, "Do you read Sutter Kane?" We have John Trent says when he's at the beginning of the movie, when he's in getting taken away to his soft room, he says, "I'm sorry about the balls. Was a lucky shot. That's all." Like, that's what I mean. There's a lot of really good comedy in this movie. And then somebody says reality is not what it used to be. I believe that was Sutter Kane said that. And then we have, I can't remember this character's name either, but he says, I have to, he wrote me this way.
Oh
And
yeah,
then
yeah,
he ends up shooting himself.
yeah. That's terrifying.
Yeah, like just imagine. I like that the movie's just based on like you're fated to do this. You have no choice. You're written this way. Your destiny is written and spoken. Do you have any lines disliked?
It's not so much dislike, but there's one line in particular where it feels like it's so knowingly bad that it was put in there to be an example of how terrible Sutter Kane's writing actually is. There's a little kid who goes to Star Wars and says, "You're my mummy." Know what today is? Today is Mummy's Day, and it's just so. I have to believe the fact it was that badly delivered was intentional, where it was just like, just say the line. It doesn't matter if you put any effort to it, because it's just such a horribly poor line that it's just, every time I hear it, I start laughing. But I also think, like, there is even with the justification for the movie, there's no reason a line that bad should be in this, because it's really, really, really.
I didn't have any written down, but I will agree with you with that because that one does stand out. Until you get a look of her face, because then you're like, oh shit.
Yeah, yeah.
Who's your favorite kill?
I personally, I go with Sutter Kane, just sort of tearing himself apart and just creating a black hole which the old ones come through, because it's so, I don't know, normally in that sort of scenario you would get a more explosive death, but it's just a matter of factness he does it. Like, it's like he just thinks, I don't care anymore. Like, it's because he actually says, no, I'll hold them back as long as I can, and then immediately does that. So it's like, well, thanks, Sutter, that's a lot. You've really contributed keeping these characters safe. But no, I also think the way it's done is so cool, where you see like the pages with the type with the writing on them, that almost foreshadows the rest of the movie too. So it's just such a clever way to sort of deal with that character in a more lo-fi fashion, I guess. So that's definitely my favorite. Which is weird because normally I'm into more violent ones, but in this case, I just thought that was just so perfectly done.
Okay. I have Simon's suicide. Not for any particular reason. I think it's just because a lot of these kills don't really, they're not 100% true kills. Like they all kind of turn into something, or yeah, there's just a lot of transforming, or like I actually have down Sutter Kane's kill as my least favorite. That's why he was on there. But yeah, there's not too many kills in this movie. Like you never get to see Styles die. She just kind of just disappears. The old lady with the husband, you just see her shoot her husband's hand off the handcuffs. You don't get to see any of the children die, which I assumed might have happened at some point. Like it clearly happens within the book of in the Mouth of Madness book, but it doesn't happen in the movie. And then I guess you got like the agent at the beginning during the dream sequence when he's hacked to pieces by this crazy crowd. But other than that, it's not too death filled, in my opinion. So I already kind of gave away my least favorite kill as being Sutter Kane. I just don't think it quite holds up. And like you said, it's not very explosive. It's pretty low key for what I think it could have been. And I definitely think that was a choice on John Carpenter's part, just to keep it that low key. But what is your least favorite kill?
Well, it's actually hilarious because we've literally gone the opposite. Because my least favorite is that Simon guy, but not because I think it's bad, but more because the way it alternates between him delivering this hackney, terrible horror dialogue and also the sad, pitiful, I've written to-do list sort of fatalist stuff. So it just seemed like it was very much, that one was more tough to watch than anything, because it just seemed really sad and more like it was going to happen more than anything. But I do agree with you that, to be honest, it's not a particularly, and this actually ties into the next question, it's not a very gory movie. There's effects, but there's not that much, and in a lot of ways, it seems to almost be. It's just it doesn't seem to want to show too much violence. I don't know if that's a reaction Carpenter had to some of his other movies and how they were received, but I mean, I'll be honest, watching this, I had no idea how it was certified in 18 because it doesn't feel like it's tense, but it's not very violent, to be honest. So
I know this movie has a rated R sticker on the back of my Blu-ray copy in Canada, and that's incredibly hard to do in Canada. So I don't understand why it's rated R. I feel like if this was given another rating, it'd probably be maybe 14A, maybe pushing 18A. I could see, but like there's not a lot of there's like a brief bit of nudity. There's maybe some swearing, but nothing too crazy. I'm gonna hit the comment real quick. We got Callister Daniel Garcia. Good afternoon. How are you? We were just talking about In the Mouth of Madness, clearly. So like you're saying about the gore, that's what category we're on right now. Do you want to do a little elaborating on?
yeah, I mean, well, one like you were just saying, there's not actually that much violence or gore in there. I think one of the most violent things I can think of is at one point there's like the characters say, "Oh, what happened to the dog?" and then it shows some blood dripping off a workbench, and that's pretty much it. Some of the special effects are like, especially of those the old ones in their rubber costumes. There's a reason that they don't show them very much because they look very rubbery, which is fine because we can't perceive what they actually look like. But if the camera lingered on them more for a few seconds more, it would have taken me out of the movie completely. I get the sense that's almost intentional to make fun of how bad Sarah Kane is as a writer, but it's still the effects are not particularly great in this. They work for what's going on, but I think John Carpenter's quite a lot of time working around them rather than using them or focusing on them particularly. And yeah, I just feel like if you were to rate anything for this movie as being average, it would probably be that particular aspect of it, from my personal opinion.
Okay, I really like the effects of this movie. I think they have that like 90s charm to them, and I think that this was kind of in the area where people are starting to lean further and further away from practical effects. This isn't the Thing level of practical effects where you get to see everything and you could maybe try to describe it later. What I like about it is that it kind of feels. I've never read a Lovecraftian book. I've seen a lot of Lovecraftian styled movies. What I love about it is you're supposed to almost keep that stuff in the dark because he
Yeah,
describes everything so loosely, and you're supposed to create the images in your head, and that's supposed to be the most terrifying thing, right? So I think the idea behind a lot of it keeping them behind closed doors is for that reason, to give the audience a like their own interpretation of kind of what they've seen. Other than like you do get a few close-ups of some of these creatures, like you do get the maid or sorry, the hotel owner. You do get a close-up shot of her that doesn't look too great, but then you later on get like a full version of her in the garden. And I fucking love
yeah,
it. But I do think the CGI doesn't hold up on a few spots, like with Sutter Kane ripping the pages away from his face essentially and creating that black hole. I don't think holds up. That's probably that's in my that's in my scenes disliked as well. I love the slimy door. I think the slimy door looks fantastic. I love the eyes especially too. I love it when movies have these fucking crazy eyes. Like I love it in what was that other kind of Lovecraftian movie with Sandra Bullock where she doesn't speak. Or they can't see.
Oh, Bird Box.
Bird Box. They have like
Yeah,
almost the same kind of style eyes in this one as they do in Bird Box, but then you gotta get them splitting like goat's eyes. I just think the eyes look fantastic, and we just watched came through and watched I'm gonna forget what it's called now, The Substance, and there's a lot of eyeball stuff in there near the end
yeah.
of the movie, and I think it looks great. You also have
I
the
just I just want to say on record, I love Substance. I thought that was an amazing movie. And I keep saying this to people, but if there's any justice, Demi Moore will get at least a nomination next year at the Oscars, because holy shit, she was fantastic in that movie.
Yeah, she was good. We both gave it very high scores. We reviewed it last night after we got home because we just had to talk about it. I got one little piece of special effects left that I wanted to talk about, and that is Kane's. I described it as Kane's Voldemort double head, kind of from the Philosopher's Stone. There, he's got like this crazy little parasite growing out the back of his head, and it just looks so fantastic. And I'm like, oh, it looks gross. It's slimy, but for some reason, I just want to like touch it. You know. So I do think a lot of the practical effects do hold up for me. It's just a lot of the CGI, and of course it's the early 90s, so of course that's why it doesn't quite hold up. But let's get into some storyline and pacing.
I mean, to be honest, I just think for me it just, like most John Carpenter movies, it's just quickly paced. It doesn't really let up too much. There are times it slows down a bit, but mostly it's just every scene is paced, so you learn something new or recontextualizes something. It's not a very long movie. I estimate it's about an hour and a half, hour and 40 minutes, something like that.
Hour 35.
Yeah. So it's like there's no time to really stop and have 20-minute character scenes or long monologues, but I think it's better because of that. It's paced nicely. I suppose I can agree with you that Styles, it feels like she's at points struggling to find a way to fit her into the movie organically, and that she's almost fighting against it. But no, I think for me, it's especially first time I watched it, I was actually stunned how short it was for how much they cram into it, because it's a very dense movie. And like most Carpenter's ones, it doesn't really overstay its welcome. It sort of ends at the right point rather than going on. I know some versions of this movie, they would continue past the asylum, past him in cinema at the end, and then have another 15, 20 minutes, where John Carpenter just goes, no, I'm done. It's just the end. Goodbye.
I like that, because I was actually thinking that they almost could have just left it with him walking out of the asylum and have all that carnage around him, and they just could have called it quits there. But I like the theater ending. But this story, to me, I agree with your pacing. I do think this movie does tend to fly. I think it's fairly well written, other than, of course, Mommy's Day. I just love a good Lovecraftian story where it makes you question everything that's going on. I know that Dagon is also one of those movies that kind of makes you question and everything like that. But I do really like it, and the fact that you're questioning whether or not you're following a character that is real, or you're questioning whether or not he's a piece of fiction, and watching him question this himself is also really great. And then another, I was thinking about it today, was you have so many people reading these books that basically they've turned these books into reality. So it's almost like I can't remember, but there's some kind of the deity that's in folklore where if you get a group of monks that believe in it, so they concentrated on it so hard that it became real. Have you ever heard like this story?
I've heard stories like that, I think.
Yeah, so it makes sense because like this book is like overselling the Bible and people believing in it so hard that eventually it just becomes reality. They don't even know what they're doing, but it's just the way that the movie ends, which I think is a really cool way to look at it too. I'm going to hit the comments here real quick. We got Callister Daniel here. He's saying a good Lovecraftian film is Cast a Deadly Spell.
Cool.
Yeah, I wrote it down. I'm going to have to check this out.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then we'll get into our favorite scenes. Oh, do you want to go first? Do you have a bunch? Or
Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, sure. Sorry. No, I mean for me it's the My favorite color is blue. That's probably my favorite scene for the entire movie. And what other ones? I like the scene where he goes to meet Happy Gilmore's grandmother, mother, whatever it is, and you've got the painting in the background that's sort of moving every time they turn away, and it's changing slightly, because it's like such a great subtle horror scene where it's like it's not big and bombastic. It's this little thing where it changes every time you give it new perspective. So I'd definitely say those two were my favorite ones. Although it is sad to watch. I do like the scene with Simon at the bar where he's talking about the fatalism. He knows what he's been written to do, and he knows what he's been written to witness, and he's trying not to do it. And he's trying to give John Trent some advice, but in the end, he has to stick to the book. And it's like, I've been made to do this. It's such a sad, terrifying sequence. So probably those three are my favorite from this.
Awesome. I totally agree with the painting. I wrote that one down first before I even put the movie on because I remember the painting. And like you said, it's very subtle, but I find it's very in your face by the end of it with how grotesque and creature-esque these things are.
Yeah.
And for some reason, I had this envision that a tentacle popped through the painting. I don't know why. That's how I remembered this happening, but that does not happen in the movie. I also have the alley nightmare scene. I really enjoy that. I love just the imagery, and you have all of these people with these crazy prosthetics on, and I think the prosthetics look fucking amazing.
Yeah.
I just think it's pure nightmare feel. I put the bicycle sequence down.
Yeah.
It's a good sequence, as well as him like driving away from the town and just getting caught in that red light and then driving back into town. I like just how he's following in that kid's footsteps, and he doesn't even mean to be, because that kid is constantly trying to get out, and he has been there for who knows how long, riding in the same direction every day, every hour even, and just never being able to escape. What else do I got that I can read? I put the running away in the tunnel, actually. I put the running away in the tunnel because I like the design of the tunnel on the sides, and then I like how glossy the bottom is. It almost looks like he's running on water. Like, it seems very trippy.
Yeah. No, definitely.
Yeah. And then I have you watch the movie at the end.
Cool.
But, yeah. Do you have any least favorite scenes?
Just one, but it's only a part of a scene. It's when you meet it's when the townsfolk go to the black church and meet Sutter Kane. But everything up to the point where he comes out first time is great. I love it. But it's when I was watching it first time, second time, third time, when he sets the dogs loose, and all I can think of is Mr. Burns on Simpsons, release the hounds, and it's just. It's no one's fault because the dogs don't look dangerous. They don't look sinister. They don't look like they've been trained particularly to be merciless, like killers. They just look like happy dogs have been let loose, and they just need to cut around as much as possible. And I get what scene's trying to achieve, but I just can't take it seriously in the slightest. Which isn't a bad thing, because I think movies try and be tongue in cheek at the same time, but I get the impression that particular part, they're like, "Oh, you're meant to be terrified of these dogs," and I was like, "Nah, they just look happy." To be honest.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. The only scene I disliked is when Kane rips his face like a piece of paper, and I know it's not anything to do with the movie's fault. I just think that they could have maybe done something that would have standed the time, like test of time here with that effect. Yeah. And unfortunately, we just don't get it. I think I would have rather seen like a matte painting slowly like do it or something like that. Cool. Yeah. But so this is an interesting category, but we have the killer.
So I personally, for this one, I just put Sutter Kane because as the writer and creator of everything, he's responsible for it. So I figured it has to be him. And then I just thought I liked his eerie sense as a character, where he was half a terrible, terrible writer, but also a god. And also, there were hints of the actual Sutter Kane, because it seems like the way movies positing it, that there's an actual Sutter Kane somewhere who wrote the book and screenplay to the movie, and what we're seeing isn't the real Sutter Kane. So there's a bit of ambiguity there. But yeah, I mean, I just thought he was such an interesting character, and that I can sort of shrug off the fact that he doesn't technically, in horror movie categorization, he doesn't actually do much killing. He's just sort of sits back and lets things happen and just sort of writes it down and watches it. But I mean, I like the character enough and I sort of overlooked those aspects of it. But yeah.
I like Sutter Kane too. I think he's a very interesting and fun and eccentric character to watch. He definitely there's just a couple moments where he kind of like gets a little cheesed up. Like you brought up the scene with the dogs, and before that we had the doors flying open and close and open and close. And I don't know why, but I get a chuckle of that. And then they fly open, and when like it's the kid, and then it flies open,
Yeah.
it's him, and he's standing there like, oh, I'm the boss. That just made me laugh a lot. And he's very cool. Like I don't know, he's kind of slick. He's good with his words, good with asking questions. He's a very maniacal trickster of a potential demigod here. But yeah, that's all I can really say. That's all I can really add to what you said. So I don't really have too much. But on a scary rating, 1 being like Ghostbusters, 10 being like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, what would you give this movie?
I mean, I'll be honest. Like, if you're asking, my quality rating's different, but scare rating, even first viewing, I'd probably go for a 6 or 7. Like, it's more for me. The implication of what's happening is more terrifying than the actual movie. Where it's like the whole nature of the universe, what Sutter Kane is doing, the old ones. But in terms of like jump scares and terrifying moments, it's not really that many here. So I would probably, I'm going to be generous and say a 7, but I just don't think it's scary in the sort of traditional sense.
Okay. Yeah, and I'm agree with you there. It's not scary in the traditional sense. Are there a few gross out kind of creature designs in this movie? Absolutely. If you start thinking about this movie philosophically, you might end up and then doing some research on some conspiracy theories. You might scare yourself a little bit more with how plausible this could be. I'm going to go with a 3 myself. I do think it's a great watch, but I do not find it too scary at all. Uh, my last 2 categories are rewatchability and would you recommend?
Yeah, no, I've rewatched it a lot. I think probably 5 or 6 times, because it's quite a nice background movie where the really cool parts you can just sort of perk up for, but the rest of it you can just sort of ease into it. Would I recommend it? Yeah, I think it's in a different way to some of his other ones. It's another classic horror movie, but with a bit more of a knowing sense of humor. It's like you were saying, it's one that's almost worth more thinking about on a deeper level, because that's where most of the great parts of the movie come from. I won't say I don't think it's as good as like Halloween or The Thing for being concise and scary and terrifying. But I would say in its own way, it's feels like a movie which was ahead of its time to an extent, because especially like 3-4 years later, Scream came out and was pretty metatextual too. And since then, lots of other movies like that have come out. So yeah, I mean, if you're looking for something which is different, which is funny, which is weird, which has a couple of genuinely great sequences, like horror movie sequences, yeah, I definitely recommend this one.
Okay. I think the rewatchability is pretty good. I don't think I'm gonna rewatch. Like, this is the second time I've watched it in the last 6 months, so I think I'm gonna give it a break for a couple of years. This movie, for me recommending, I think if you like Prince of Darkness, you definitely dig this. I haven't seen Prince of Darkness since I was a kid, and I've got it on 4K. I've been meaning to rewatch it, but this feels very much in that vein, and this is kind of one of John Carpenter's weirder stories,
Yeah, yeah,
which is why I think it wasn't quite picked up like Halloween was, or Big Trouble, or Escape from New York. He did direct Escape from New York, right? Or am I just...
yeah. He did, yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm just double fact checking. I don't want no haters to come on and be like, "What the fuck?" Um, so I'd especially recommend this to people that I know love Lovecraftian or
Mm.
great creature movies. Even though you don't get a whole lot of it, you do get enough to kind of
Yeah.
Be happy with what you get. So yeah. So we will go on to our final ratings, and we rate our movies with emojis. We got the poop emoji as a 1 and a 100 as a 5 out of 5. What would you rate this movie, Ian?
I don't think I'd go for 5 stars, so I probably would go for, if I had the option, I go for double thumbs up, but I would go for thumbs up, 4 out of 5 in this case. It's just missing enough to be an elite level movie, but it's close in my opinion, but it's not quite there. I think each time I rewatch it, I do find a slight problem with it, and I didn't notice before. And usually with movies, I give 5 out of 5. They usually get better as they go on. So I'm going to go for 4, thumbs up.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I am also gonna go with a I'm also going to go with a thumbs up. I agree with you that every time I seem to watch it, there is something that sticks out a little more. Either I notice a little bit of Sam Neill's dialogue that has been switched over to his native accent,
Yeah.
or I notice a little bit more bad acting with Sky, or Styles. Sorry, Styles. Um, or just like the little things I do tend to I do start to pick them out a little bit more and more and more. So I think a 4 is pretty solid for me. I think this is a great watch. Definitely go recommend it and check this movie out, guys. If you've seen this movie, let me know down below in the comments. What's your rating for it? Will I read off some fun facts? Fun fact, I know that I don't even have to go into it. This was shot in Ontario, Canada, at um, Markham, in Markham. So just a couple hour drives away from me. Not even a couple
Cool.
hours, probably an hour and a half. I know that the church is still there, and I believe the little town is still relatively the same. Our buddy Matt from at Surreal Studios, his buddy got to play the part of the kid on the bicycle
Oh, wow.
growing up. Yeah, so those are two fun facts I don't have to read. I do know those off the top of my noodle. Uh, so this is the third film in the John Carpenter Apocalypse trilogy. The first being The Thing, and the second being Prince of Darkness. Also, I like that they filmed this spot in Markham, and usually all of Lovecraft film stories take place in Arkham. I think that was not planned, but it worked out pretty good in their favor. Let's see. This is a long one, but in the film, the works of Sutter Kane occasionally quoted most, if not all, these quotes are actually taken directly from several of H.P. Lovecraft's short stories, with some adaptations to fit in them into the film, most notably in the scenes where Style reads to Trent as he gazes into the abyss. Her speech leaves much of its description, including such elements: the limited gulf of the unknown, from the last few paragraphs of Lovecraft's The Rats in the Walls. In an earlier scene, Trent reads a line verbatim from Lovecraft's story, The Hunter of the Dark. Let's see. The car keys that Julie Carmen swallows when Sam Neill is trying to escape was made out of pasta. That's pretty neat. Hayden Christensen's feature debut. Oh, no way. Hayden Christensen's feature debut.
Wow.
He's the paper boy met by Trent on the road. Okay.
Very cool.
Hob is an old word which was used to refer to the devil. Oh, sorry, excuse me. After Sutter Kane says, "Did I ever tell you that my favorite color was blue?" It is realized that throughout the entire movie, whenever an actor was close up, their eyes are blue, proving Sutter Kane's power.
Wow, that's cool.
I did not notice that.
Nope.
Sutter Kane's character is clearly based on John Carpenter's friend Stephen King, even referencing Stephen King's New England roots, with Hobbs End filling in for King's Castle Rock. Carpenter directed a film version of Stephen King's Christine. Additionally, Michael De Luca had previously written a screenplay for the King adaptation of Lawnmower Man. However, the characters say that Sutter Kane is even more popular than Stephen King. Let's see. The effect of Julie Carly spinning her head around was done by having a contortionist stunt double wear an upside-down prosthetic mask of Carmen's face. Since the stunt double couldn't see, the filmmaker had to guide her on where to go by sound. Well, that's fun. Robert Monster, which Sam Neill is watching at the end of the movie, is one of director John Carpenter's favorite monster movies as a kid. He always puts in his favorite monster movies. The dozens of monsters featured towards the end of the film were a combination of men in suits, animatronics, and full-size wall of creatures. It took over 30 people to operate the monsters. Sam Neill, who was originally a director himself, suggested to John Carpenter that he shoot some of the scenes in the hotel room from above. Okay, I didn't know he was a director himself.
Nope.
Yeah. Let's see if we can get a couple more good ones in here. John Trent occupies cell number 9 at the asylum and rents the room number 9 at the Pickman Hotel in Hobbs End. And oh, okay. This is kind of neat, I guess. When a hand breaks through the glass of Sam Neill's cell, a piece of fake glass actually cut Sam Neill's neck.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, they're lucky. That could have been bad news.
Yeah, fuck.
But that is all the fun facts I have. There is honestly, there's 59 results here on IMDb, but that is all I'm going to go through today.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's lots on the Scream Factory Blu-ray release of this movie. If you don't have it, I highly recommend going and checking that out. Oh, sorry, are you going to say something?
No, I just have the version on Amazon Prime, so I don't know if I'm guessing that's not 4K, so I'm sure at some point I'll try and get the 4K one to complete my Carpenter set of movies on 4K, because they look so nice, upgraded to that spec. So.
Yeah, this one hasn't been released to 4K yet. I think this is one of the only ones that hasn't been. I think Escape from New York is just coming out on a steelbook in the States anyways. But I just have the Blu-ray. I watched it today and I think it looks fantastic on a 4K TV. I might not rebuy it unless it comes with like hands down some of the best special features for this movie. But Ian, thank you so much for joining me for this review. Do you want to let everybody know where they can find you?
Yeah, just if you search for Bubba Batching on Google, you'll come across my YouTube channel and my website, because for some reason that word has not existed or does not exist beyond what I make. But I'm on Twitter, Ian Makes Films. I'm on YouTube with the same name. And I'm just around at various points and places. So just search my name in YouTube. And if you find the name of a politician, just keep searching for it. Eventually you'll find me on Google. So
Awesome. Thank you everyone for tuning in today. Sam just wants to say thank you as well, Ian, for coming on.
Oh, that's nice. Thank you.
We got Ryan here. Thanks for the stream. Also, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe.
Hit that subscribe button, people.
Thank you, guys.
And like it.
We always forget to say it, so we thank you so much for reminding us. Thanks again so much, guys, for watching. I'm trying to remember what we got coming up this week. I'm not entirely sure. I'll have to get back to Sam with the calendar. But I hope everybody has a fantastic rest of their day and everybody remains spooky. Let's see, now I gotta find my out.